Welcome to another video of Trace and Animate, and in this video we're finally putting the Twilight project to a close. Now this was a very quick project. In total, if I'm looking at everything together, I think it took about 4 hours from starting to finish. What took the most time, I think, out of this project was just lip syncing the Bella scenes, or the parts where she's talking. I think that's the most consuming part, but other than that, I'd say it took about maybe 3 hours max to complete everything. So it was a fairly quick project. So let's jump right into it. So one of the mistakes that I had made was that I actually didn't record me showing how I put Bella together in terms of the bone structure around her. So I will show you how I do it with Edward, but basically after I trace the characters, I usually put like a bone structure so that I can be able to move their limbs and whatnot. So to do this, I usually separate the parts that I would like to be flexible. I'm thinking of a word, but I can't think of it. And then I put a bone structure around these, these parts of the limbs and the body, and then you're able to move the mesh, to whatever you would like it to be. So here you can see I've put Edward, and now I'm able to move him around. All right, so that's him. You can see his arms can move now, his head can turn. And once this is done, we basically are done with everything, with all our assets in the animation, and now we have to put the composition together. So here I've got Bella in the front. So in terms of how I composited this, I just looked at that scene in the movie where Bella tells, no, the other way around, where Edward tells, oh wait, I'm confused, I've confused myself. Yes, Bella figures out that Edward is a vampire, so that's how I knew the composition, or that's how I set up the composition to be. So here I'm just playing around with the eyes, because the eyes I need to make the characters look like they're looking at each other, so that's important. And then here I just needed to find a place where I could save the files. So what I'll do is that I create the general scene, and then from this scene what I'll do is that I'll save as, and then create like multiple scenes that will be animated to the final thing. So the first thing that I always do is that when it comes to the final animation is that I start with the lip syncing first. So here, as you're going to see, I've imported the audio as a WAV file, and then what I'll do is that I will lip sync. Now the program does do a fairly good job of lip syncing automatically, but sometimes it's just that what the words are saying and what the motion of the lips are doing don't match exactly. So usually if it's not too important, then I just let the software do its own thing. But then if I'm bothered by it, then I'll try to do it manually, and some parts leave automatic. So it's I'd say it's a hybrid. So in this one I actually worked more manually than I thought I would, because it wasn't looking right. So this part, it's me just matching what she's saying and matching what she's saying and how the lips are moving. It's weird because it's 30 seconds in terms of animation of what she says, but the amount of work that goes into it, it's a lot of work. So I'm always curious I'd love to know how the people that do frame by frame do it, because I've always been curious to know how they do it. I've seen some who actually create like a lip sync folder that they just put on their characters, but then I've seen some who actually draw it along with the frames, which is, wow, mad respect to that, because I'd love to learn to do that. And I'd love to see if someone has done it, like a tutorial on how to do lip syncing with frame by frame. It's crazy, and it's a lot of work. So, and how do they do it? How do they match it? I'd really love to do it. And I've also seen in anime they also do it as well, but they never really go into how they lip sync their characters. I hope they can do that. So anyways, I've finally completed Bella's lip syncing. So here I was just testing, checking out the eyes, just making the eyes come out, not come out, making the eyes look more alive. So I was making them fidget every now and then. So instead of doing it for every frame, what I did was that I did a number of frames for a number of seconds, and then what I'll do is that I'll just copy these, and then they'll just keep cycling over and over again. So here you can see, and this really adds to the overall composition, because then your character really does look like there's motion to them, or that they feel more alive, if I can put it. So this is what I do, and then usually after I do this, I also do the same thing with the eyebrows, because I feel like those add expression as well to the character. Now, a lot of what I really like about anime studio is that you're really able to animate everything you've done. I really thought about animating her hair instead of like in terms of like the wind blowing, but then I decided not to, because I guess the whole idea of this was just to show you how I go through the process rather than creating an animation from scratch. So if you guys, or if anybody's interested in like doing your own fan fiction, then I'd really recommend this, because it really is fast, and you can really churn out, is that a word? Churn out or turn out? Well, you can knock out a lot of episodes in a very fast time. So I'd imagine that if I had to do like a 5-minute episode, it would probably take me about a day. And if I had like multiple stories of the same characters, then you can imagine that it would take a day to create all your characters and all your backgrounds and whatnot. And then from that, you just continuously you record your voices, and then you sync them over to your animation. So out of everything that you do, lip syncing will be the most time effective. I don't think that's a word. It'll be time consuming. Oh my goodness, I'm fumbling again. I hope I get better as I do more projects. But anyways, coming back to the animation, we finally completed Bella, her face, basically. So she's now, being expressive. And then what we're going to do here is just create a blinking. I think Bella blinks quite a lot, so you'll note that I go crazy with the copying and pasting of her blinking, just to add that characteristic of Bella to the animation. So overall with this, as I was doing this, I was happy with the results. So now that I've completed with the facial expressions, what I now have to go and do is the bones. So now I just create like little motions, little heads and turns, and I focused more on the parts where she was speaking, so that I suppose it can be more expressive when she says certain things. So you'll note that whenever she says something, then I move the hands, I move the body, and I just play really up and down in terms of like moving it left, right, nothing too complicated. And if there's anything that I'd like to make clear, it's that there's so much that this software can do, like really, really so much. I wouldn't even call this like a scratch of the surface. I'd call it like a smudge, a smudge of the surface, because there's so much the software can do. But I think what I want to focus on is in creating something that can be done in a short space amount of time. Often in animation, it'll take you months to produce something that's only like 10 minutes, 5 minutes. So I've been thinking for a while now, how do I make something that can be done in a couple of days and release? So I thought of this, and I thought people can do their own, fan fiction, or their own animations rather. So I think in the future, I will create a video where you can create your own characters from scratch, and then, follow the same principles, I suppose. And if you guys would like to, me to create something that's more detailed, then please feel free to ask me, and I don't mind doing that. If you enjoy what you're watching, let's start that again. If you enjoy what you're watching, please consider subscribing and hitting the like and leave a comment. Right now, as of this video, I'm still at 0 subscribers, so chances are that if you have a request right now of a specific trace and animate of anybody, even yourself, you can contact me, or you can just put in the email what you'd like to see me trace and animate, and we can do that. So please consider liking and subscribing. All right, coming back to the animation. So we're done with Bella, and now we're going to move to Edward. Now, the best part of Edward is that he's not going to be doing much, because he only has one line in this whole animation where he says that he's 17. All right. So mostly for his animation, it was just the eyes, making the eyes, move around a lot. I know that in the industry, like if a character isn't really important in what's happening in the scene, then usually what they'll do is that they'll just let them be motionless. But here, because we've got only two characters, we might as well put in the details. I could make his eyes just look zombie-like, but then it would really come off as a still image in the background. So with things happening on his face, it really brings the scene almost to life, if I can put it. So you'll see here that that's the only portion of his dialogue. So everything else, I don't need the software to sync. All right, so we've got him there. So right now we're just going to also create his blinking. Again, also these are just the little details that bring the character to life. So blink every now and then. I don't really time it. And obviously in real life, no one blinks this much, even for Bella. But for all purpose intended, you just want to give that motion to your characters. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to play around with Edward's, Edward's movement. But I know where I'll start using the movement. So here what I did was that I just imported a background that I had previously done a while back. I think almost years ago. So I thought, why not just recycle something? So here what I'm doing is I'm creating the mist or fog that will pass by as they talk, just to add that little flair. So this is the fog. Yeah, the fog or mist. You can see now it's starting to look, it's starting to come alive. And then I just move it from, I create keyframes from left, or rather from right to left. And then in the animation, it will look like as if there's like fog passing them by, or they in the middle of a misty forest. So now that I've created my overall scene, I save as and create as my scene 1. Or in this case, I know that this will be my second scene. So now I'm just playing around with the camera, and I just set how many frames I want this scene to be. So right now I think it's 292 if I'm not mistaken. I can't really see that well because I'm watching this from an editing screen. And yeah. So now here we're just playing with her, playing with the camera, the zooming in. You can see that now the scene is actually coming together, or in this in particular. So I save, and then I just play around with the camera. So once that's done, I don't render, I just go on to my next scene. So this is the next scene that I'm creating. This is the part of Edward, of him walking in the forest. So this scene as well won't be long. So I go to the scene, or where the scene ends, and I just put him in center frame, or in the center of the frame. Yeah, that's what I said. All right. And then just moving him up and down. And then here I actually made a mistake, and I wasn't aware of what the mistake was. So that was a bit annoying. So here you can see I'm just scaling the bones up and down, giving him that motion of walking up and down. It should have been very subtle looking back, but I think overall I was okay with the results of how it turned out. So here we've got him. It's moving up and down. So here you can see he's scaling into the frame, which I didn't actually want. I wanted him to move a little slower. It did look weird in the end, but I think it worked for what I was going for. So here you can see. And then you can also see why when I was animating or tracing and animating Edward, that I wasn't too worried about his hands, because they're not going to be seen in any frame. So that's why they weren't very detailed. So here I'm just making him look like he's moving. So what I've done is that I'm scaling back the the environment. So the environment is almost zooming out to give that illusion as if he's walking forward, and also the camera is moving back. So you can see here, and also I just add back the mist. So here I also made a mistake because the mist is in the background, and then I actually do come back to it, and I think I do move it in front. I'm not sure. And then this is the final scene that we'll be creating. So this is the scene where both of the characters are in frame, and then Bella is giving her monologue, I think. So here, just playing around with the camera. Now the lips really bothered me a lot because they kept on changing shape as you zoom in, and then almost reverting to the regular size once we zoomed out. So I was a bit frustrated with that. And now it's finally coming together. So here we can see they talking, Bella's, and then Edward says something. So what I usually do is that I save more than enough frames at the end. So I don't like end the frames exactly. I just put a little more frames, and this helps in the end when it's time to cut the animations into parts and fade out and zoom out and all that stuff. So now we're compositing all these scenes together. So I bring in all my scenes. That's an opening scene that I created. It was very fast, so I didn't feel like the need to showcase it. So here, the program that I'm using to put everything together is After Effects 2018. You can see. And then here I'm just importing the audio for just the opening parts, the establishing scene of the project. All right. So here I'm just making sure that all these scenes are aligned. You know, you don't want to have gaps between your scenes. And then here we've got the audio of the jungle where it starts, and then that's where the animation ends. So here we've got our scene that's put together, and then what we want to do is we want to put the grading, the color grading. So here I use an adjustment layer, and then I just put the CC toner or toner and then I just play around with the hues there and the blues. So Twilight's got a bluish color to it, so that's what I was doing. I actually like this, but unfortunately it wasn't like true to the Twilight color grading. So here I'm just making it blue and then just playing around with how much I want it to affect my overall scene. So you can see now the composition is coming together. And then what I do is just I add levels as well, just to make it a bit darker. You know, you don't want it to be too light. And then I just crank up the blues and then just also bring down the other colors a little bit, especially the reds. So we've got more blues that are standing out. And then that's it. Now I'm just creating a fade out, which is just a black layer, and you just play around with the opacity of it. And yeah, it's simple. I don't know if it's simple as that, but it's quite easy, believe me. I think, yeah, it's, or maybe it's, yeah, it's easy. I'm gonna put it out there that it is easy, and that you can do it as well. So yeah, this was the Twilight project, and now you're gonna check out the what's gonna play is the final scene put together. Thank you guys for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment, and thank you.
You're impossibly fast and strong. Your skin is pale white and ice cold. Your eyes change color. And sometimes you speak like you're from a different time. You never eat or drink anything. You don't go out in the sunlight. How old are you?
17.